Chapter 281. On the second day, it started to drizzle from the dark sky, landing on the ground. The slightly dark environment made the hidden dragon ancient city look even more ancient. On the battling field, there were tons of people, their voices reaching the sky. This little bit of rain did not affect them at all since they had reached the clasping Yuan realm. The first 4 or 5 rounds were fine. But don't you think that starting from the 67th round, the judges have purposely left the 3 of them until the end? What do you think the judges are doing? Their eyesight is way more powerful than us. Naturally, they could see it clearly. Otherwise, if the 3 of them were to fight right at the beginning, then the hidden dragon rank competitions would not be perfect. Yeah, that's true. It has been like this for the past few competitions as well. The top battles are always left to the last round. The warriors who were watching the battles had some doubts about the order of the competitions, but they were soon dispelled. As long as it did not violate the rules of the competitions, the judges still had a lot of power. They had the right to arrange their opponents. Even the leaders of the rank 6 martial institutions might not be able to decide, since their disciples were powerful enough. But at the same time, if they were not powerful enough, the arrangement would be useless. It all depended on the power. The 69th round of the competitions had officially begun. The first pair of top young warriors was Li Daoxian and Tuo Baku. Compared to Yan Qihua, Li Daoxuan's movement art was slightly better. Besides Xikong Sheng, who had never used his movement art before, he was only second to Yu Chen. Therefore, Tuo Baku's uppercut fist could not hit Li Daoxian as he had hoped. Instead, Li Daoxian had taken the opportunity to attack him a couple of times. Eventually, Tuo Baku had lost to his silent ace attack. The second pair was Lin Yun and Mo Yen. Although Mo Yen had lost the competition this time, he had finally gained some fame. Judging on power, Lin Yun was not as powerful as Yan Qihua. Judging on battling skills, he was not as powerful as Li Daoxian, not to mention Yu Chen. Therefore, he had managed to gain the upper hand with his sky demon eyes. That thick and heavy fire yuan shield had a lot of weaknesses in his eyes. Unfortunately, Lin Yun's power was not to be underestimated. He was a powerful warrior at the same level as Tuo Baku. If it were not for the fact that he had suffered too much damage before and his condition had dropped a bit, Mo Yen might not even be able to get the upper hand. After being enraged, Lin Yun threw out a crazy attack. That iron spear that was covered in flames was like a dragon playing in the water, bringing up the wind and waves. The flame was so strong that it had suppressed Mo Yen until the end of the battle. After that, Xikong Sheng and Murong Qingqing started to fight. Among the young generation, the 2 of them were the most popular. Xikong Sheng, the king warrior of the young generation, and the champion of the last hidden dragon rank, it was reasonable for him to be this popular. Although Murong Qingqing's power was not as powerful as Xikong Sheng, sometimes women did not need to rely on their power to win the popularity. Their looks and temperament were also part of their power, since most of the warriors watching the battle were male. You're very strong. Are you interested in going to the other domains with me? Murong Qingqing was about the same age as Xikong Sheng, they were both in their 20s. But in Xikong Sheng's eyes, Murong Qingqing was only a woman. It was that simple. Murong Qingqing shook her head slightly. Sorry, I will go out to train myself. But it is just a personal plan. I do not want to get involved with anyone. What a shame. Xikong Sheng did not care too much about it. As a beautiful woman with both power and temperament like Murong Qingqing, no one would not appreciate her beauty. He was no exception. However, for him, besides training, everything else was secondary. He only felt a bit regretful. Let's start. Xikong Sheng looked serious as he signaled to Murong Qingqing. Sky Demon Catch. Without performing any attacking movement, Murong Qingqing accumulated a huge amount of Sky Demon power field with both of her hands, attacking where Xikong Sheng was from a distance. Crack. The ground 3 steps behind Xikong Sheng cracked open. blink body movement. Murong Qingqing's pupils shrank. She threw out her attack first, and Sikong Sheng moved his body behind her. Because of his extreme speed, normal people would not be able to see his movement at all. It was as if the sky demon catch had gone through his body and landed behind him. It was the first time that Sikong Sheng had performed his movement art. It was obviously more powerful than Li Daoxuan's, and even Yi Chen's was not as powerful as it. Off the stage, Yi Chen squeezed his eyes. The movement art that Sikong Sheng had performed was indeed a top-rank Earth Realm movement art, which was rarely seen even in rank 6 martial institutions. After all, it would be quite good for a normal rank 6 martial institution to have 4 or 5 top-rank Earth Realm martial arts. How could it be possible for them to have all kinds of top-rank Earth Realm martial arts? For example, Li Daoxuan's sword step shift was only top-rank Earth Realm. But of course, it was definitely one of the top-rank Earth Realm flying arts. The good thing is that my separating shadow flying art is also top-rank Earth Realm. Otherwise, I would be in big trouble. Back when he was on the Snake Island in the Star Region Lake, Yi Chen had already trained his Flow Ruo 3 mysterious spell to the 3rd level, which had increased his separating shadow flying arts rank to top-rank Earth Realm. However, since the beginning of the competition, he had not only restricted his sword intent, but also his flying art, which was also one of his ace attacks. Force Field Cut. Murong Qingqing accumulated 2 sky demon power fields with both of her hands, one positive and the other negative. The fields pressed and combined together, forming a huge cutting power, attacking towards Sikong Sheng. Sikong Sheng's body did not move at all, but he threw out his ace attack from his mysterious Sky Tyrant fist art, confronting Murong Qingqing's ace attack head-on. Boom! The force field cut was shattered. Fist Tyrant River. After shattering the force field cut with one punch, Sikong Sheng threw out another punch, which had shattered Murong Qingqing's protective Sky Demon Power Field. It was something that had never happened since the beginning of the competition. Naturally, Murong Qingqing had lost the battle. After devouring Murong Qingqing's dragon fountain chi, Sikong Sheng's dragon-shaped shadow had grown to 80 meters, only 2 feet away from 90 meters. I am afraid that no one would be able to beat Sikong Sheng anymore. No, he would not even be able to fight with all of his power. Even Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Great Art had been shattered by him with only one punch. In the last Sky Demon rank, Yan Qihua was still able to fight against Sikong Sheng. But this time, Sikong Sheng is way too powerful. He is so powerful that most of the young warriors do not even have the right to challenge him. Yeah, Yi Chen's power is at the same level as Yan Qihua. Neither of them would be able to face Sikong Sheng. While everyone was talking, the competition continued until Yi Chen beat Gu Yuyun, and Yan Qihua beat Bing Ling. The 69th round of competitions had come to an end. 2 hours had passed, and the 70th round had arrived. The next round would be the last one. This round of competitions had not started yet, but the audience seating had already been heated up. There was nothing else, because in this round of competitions, Yi Chen would either be fighting against Yan Qihua or Sikong Sheng. He would have to face one of them eventually, and no matter how the judges arranged the order, it would not change that fact. In the crowd's anticipation, Mo Yen had beaten Bing Ling, and Lin Yun had beaten Gu Yuyun. Now, it was Tuo Baku and Murong Qingqing's turn. Murong Qingqing's power might not be as powerful as Lin Yun's, and even if it was, it would not be that powerful. However, Tuo Baku still could not get the upper hand. Under Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Catch, Tuo Baku could not even maintain his own battling rhythm. On the other hand, Murong Qingqing's power field cut could be ranked in the top 3 among the young generation, seeming to be right behind Sikong Sheng. It was even more powerful than Yan Qihua and Li Daoxuan's ace attacks. Tuo Baku's defense would naturally not be able to handle it. But even so, he had only been slightly wounded. After Tuo Baku had lost, all of the spectators were getting more and more excited, waiting for the next battle. The 23rd battle, Yi Chen against Yan Qihua. The head judge stood up and announced the battle himself. Boom! The sound wave was so loud that even the rain in the sky had been shaken off. A wave of slight pattern appeared in the air, covering the whole battling field. In this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions, the 4th to 10th place was basically clear, and there would not be too many changes. Only the top 3 were still in the dark. To be exact, the 2nd and 3rd place were still not clear, and the 1st place had been reserved for Xikongsheng. Without a doubt, the 2nd and 3rd place would be Yan Qihua and Yi Chen. Xikongsheng would not even be considered, since only the 2 of them had won all of their battles without losing a single battle. Yan Qihua paid a lot of attention to this battle. He had already taken out his long blade when he was still off the stage, wearing it on his waist. His whole body was filled with blade intent as he flashed onto the battling platform. A blue light flashed, and Yi Chen followed right after him. Facing Yan Qihua's sky-high blade intent and blade aura, Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. With his blue robes and the long sword on his waist, he looked very calm, with a sense of calmness. Before the battle, I had never thought that you would be the one to make it this far. The blade intent on Yan Qihua's body was getting stronger and stronger. There was only a thin line between him and the 70% blade intent, and it seemed like it could break through at any second. However, this thin line was not that easy to break. Without a certain level of mastery of the blade art, it would be impossible to break through it even after 3 to 5 years. And this was because there were powerful warriors from the Fire Spirit Palace who had mastered the completed blade intent, who had given him a lot of guidance. Yi Chen looked very calm. Yan Qihua's blade intent had undoubtedly reached the peak of 60%, which was even more mature than the 60% blade intent. Let's fight. The sword intent was like an unsheathed weapon, shooting out of Yi Chen's body. It was the same 60% sword intent, but Yi Chen's sword intent was even purer than Li Daoshuan's. Fire Dragon Cut. The blade qi turned into a dragon as Yan Qihua pushed his Zhen qi and threw out a horrifying blade attack towards Yi Chen. A deep star-like sword light flashed in the air. No one knew when, but Yi Chen's star scar sword had already been taken out of its scabbard. Along with the 60% sword intent and the poetic perspective of the sky-shattering clouds, it accurately pointed at the head of the fire dragon blade qi. Sparks flew everywhere, looking like a rain of fire. Flashing his body, Yi Chen broke through the rain of fire and appeared in front of Yan Qihua, stabbing out his sword. That sword attack was sharp, but it also carried the elegance of a sightseeing. There was no need for any smoke or fire, and it was thrown out naturally, as if he was drawing a landscape painting with his sword. All of his experiences had been condensed into one sword attack. All of the previous battles had not been wasted. Plus, this sword attack did not combine all of the complicated experiences into one. There was not enough time. Yi Chen believed that he was not the only one who had comprehended it, but they would need more time to absorb the essence of it. What? Since the start of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, it was the first time that Yan Qihua had fallen into a disadvantage. Yi Chen's sword attack made him feel like he could not block it. The poetic perspective of his sword art was too well coordinated, so well coordinated that Yan Qihua did not even know how to fight back. Right then, he finally realized how powerful Yi Chen was. His sword art training was so powerful that Li Daoxian could not even compare to him. Chapter 282. Explode. At that critical moment, Yan Qihua bit on the tip of his tongue. The Zhen qi inside his body exploded like a volcano, bringing up a sky-piercing blade intent. It seemed like he was going to block out Yi Chen's fatal sword attack with his exploding Zhen qi power. Swoosh! The star scar sword slowed down a bit, but it still stabbed in. The sword light was pointing right at Yan Qihua's chest. Open! Having gained a little bit of time, Yan Qihua did not have time to think. He threw out his burning red iron fist, landing on that sword light. A metal clashing sound was heard. The star scar sword in Yi Chen's hand had been bent by the fist power and bounced off. His whole body had been blown away, and Yan Qihua was even worse off. His left fist was covered in blood, and there was a bone-deep sword mark on it. If it were not for his high cultivation and the top-rank Earth Realm martial art from the Fire Spirit Martial School, that sword attack would have broken his left arm. Watching what had happened on the battling platform, everyone was shocked. What is going on? This is too crazy. One sword attack had wounded Yan Qihua. Could it be that Yi Chen had not used all of his power before, and was just playing around? In everyone's mind, Yi Chen's flying art and skills were slightly better than Yan Qihua's, but their overall power was almost the same. In some ways, Yi Chen was still not as good as Yi Chen. However, right from the beginning, Yi Chen had overturned everyone's judgment and wounded Yan Qihua with an unbelievable sword attack. Yan Qihua's eyes were burning with fire. You have successfully pissed me off. Now, you will have to face my anger. With a loud yell, Yan Qihua pushed his Jin Qi to the 7th rotation. That long blade in his hand that was covered in flames suddenly turned into a roaring fire dragon. It attacked towards Yi Chen with a momentum that could crack open mountains and break the sky. Right then, Yan Qihua had used all of his battling power, which was at least 30% more powerful than when he was facing Li Daoxian and Lin Yun. His spirit, qi, and soul had all exploded. Seeing that, Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. His body kept flashing and drifting, easily dodging that burning attack. Then, he shook his star-scar sword. That bright sword light spread out like rain, covering Yan Qihua, who was not far away. Yan Qihua sneered, "You think you can hurt me again? What a joke. I, Yan Qihua, will never suffer a second loss in the hands of the same person." After saying that, a scarlet wave of fire spurted out from his back, propelling his body forward explosively as he slashed with his saber in the air. Instant kill golden flame slash. The golden red saber projection sliced through the air, turning this part of the world into a vacuum. Yi Chen looked very calm as his index and middle fingers rested on the tip of the sword handle. That sword attack landed right in the middle of the golden red saber light. The air started to ripple. After a light popping sound, the saber light suddenly shattered. It was split open in the middle like a piece of cloth that had been torn apart. Why does it seem like there is a shadow of the silent ace attack in there? Li Daoxian looked surprised. That sword attack of Yi Chen's seemed to have nothing to do with his silent ace attack. However, in his eyes, it clearly contained the mystery of hiding the sword light, which was extremely tough and penetrating. He had guessed it right. Yi Chen had indeed added a bit of the silent ace attack into it, but it was not as powerful as Li Daoxuan's. But combined with the sky-shattering clouds' sword movement and poetic perspective, this sword attack was not only tough, but also had the effect of tearing everything apart. It was the evolved version of the sky-shattering clouds. Yan Qihua was dazed for a second. He had never fought with Yi Chen before, so he did not know how powerful he was. But after fighting with him for a while, he felt that his opponent's mature battle experience was definitely not something that ordinary people could compare with. Every time, he would always be able to cause the most damage with the least cost. With Yi Chen as his biggest enemy, Yan Qihua looked extremely serious as he crazily activated his 9-turn Fire Spirit Art. 7 turns of Fire Spirit Art, Red Flame Battle Body. Every time his 9-turn Fire Spirit Art increased by 1 turn, his power would increase tremendously. At the 7th turn, he could already beat Li Daoxian in its normal state. Now that he had evolved the 7th turn to the high rank, the Red Flame Battle Body, all of his Jin Qi seemed to be burning up. His aura only increased, and very soon, he had broken through his original level. Crack! The platform under his feet could not handle that aggressive and burning power anymore. Countless twisted cracks appeared on it as the fire qi rose up. In less than half a blink of an eye, Yan Qihua's aura and battling power had increased to the next level. He roared as his whole body jumped up from the ground. That bright red long blade sliced through the air, dragging out a light black light mark in the air. The light mark was not affected by the gravity, which had increased the speed of the blade light drastically. Aurora fire lightning. Fire cloud earth crack cut. Off the stage, all of the young warriors who had seen Yan Qihua's powerful attack had lost their composure. They had not expected that Yan Qihua would be this horrifying when he had used his real power. He was like a fire demon. Lin Yun, who had also trained fire element Jin Qi, was no different from a kid in front of him. Focusing his eyes slightly, Yi Chen's body became blurry, turning into layers of shadows that spread out in all directions. It was like a startled moth flying in the sky. Yan Qihua, who was standing in front of him, laughed wildly, "Do not waste your time. Once the fire cloud earth crack cut is performed, the ghosts and the gods will be destroyed." Just as he finished talking, the blade light spread out, looking like a fire cloud in the sky, burning the sky red. Shoo! 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 Pieces of black shadows had been burned into smoke one after another, disappearing completely. The people in the audience seats could not help but scream. The battle between Yan Qihua and Yi Chen had been full of twists and turns. At first, Yi Chen had the upper hand, but now, it was Yan Qihua who had the upper hand. And it seemed like Yan Qihua's advantage was much more obvious. All of the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School looked worried. Right now, it would be a lie if they did not hope for Yi Chen to win the first place. As long as he could beat Yan Qihua, Yi Chen would be able to fight against Xikong Sheng. By then, no matter if he won or lost, it would be enough to shock the whole South Rudra region and bring endless luck to the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, Yan Qihua was just too powerful. Only Su Jing's expression did not change at all. Yi Chen's real power was way more powerful than everyone had imagined. This was her instinct about Yi Chen. The separating shadow flying art, which had been restricted to high-rank Earth realm, was broken. Yi Chen was a bit surprised, since his separating shadow flying art was different from normal flying arts. It had reached its current rank with the help of the Flow Rudra 3 mysterious spell, which allowed it to maintain the effect of the separating shadow flying art, and its speed was no weaker than other flying arts of the same rank. Of course, it was not enough to make him change his expression. He backed out of the way, and his sky-shattering cloud, which had been activated with his 60% sword intent, was ready to attack. He threw out a sword attack onto that aggressive fire cloud. Swoosh! The fire cloud was blown back. Yan Qihua's fire cloud earth-shattering cut contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, while Yi Chen's sky-shattering cloud contained the poetic perspective of clouds and thunder. The two overlapped with each other. Playing with the poetic perspective of clouds in front of Yi Chen was no doubt asking for trouble. What? Yan Qihua backed out quickly, avoiding the attack of the fire cloud. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace's expression changed drastically as he stared at Yi Chen. He was very clear about Yan Qihua's fire cloud earth-shattering cut, which had reached a very high level of the poetic perspective of clouds. Added with the help of the poetic perspective of fire, it was way more powerful than just two poetic perspectives. However, under Yi Chen's sword attack, the poetic perspective of clouds had been used by him, and had been pushed back. How could he not be shocked? Mortal realm martial arts focus on the aura, and there are very few poetic perspectives. As for earth realm martial arts, without a poetic perspective, one would not be able to reach its peak. How could this guy's poetic perspective of clouds be more powerful than the red fire? How did he train it? There were countless powerful warriors in the Fire Spirit Palace, and a lot of them had completed the poetic perspectives of Earth Realm martial arts. After witnessing and hearing about Yan Qihua's talent, he knew that among the young generation, he was only second to Xikong Sheng. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace did not believe that anyone could surpass his head disciple, Yan Qihua, in terms of poetic perspectives. Yan Qihua did not believe it, so he yelled, "Just now, my attacks were too scattered. Let's see how you can break this attack." Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut. It also contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, so the power of the fire cloud golden flame cut was extra concentrated. It was thrown out with 60% of the peak blade intent, attacking toward Yichen. Stubborn. His body was as straight as a sword as Yichen held his star-scar sword with both of his hands. The air around the sword body twisted and collapsed rapidly, looking like an ocean of clouds rolling. Then, lightning flashed, jumping around. Pap! A 1-meter thick lightning light shot out, which was actually formed from sword chi. The sky-shattering clouds used the poetic perspective of clouds as the main one, and the poetic perspective of thunder as the support. However, the way it was presented was the poetic perspective of thunder, and the poetic perspective of clouds as the support. Therefore, at first glance, one would think that it was just the poetic perspective of thunder, but it was actually the poetic perspective of clouds combined with the poetic perspective of thunder. It could be called the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds. The lightning light attacked crazily, landing right in the middle of the golden red blade light. Countless arm-thick electric lights exploded, looking like snakes and spears, very eye-catching. Boom! The blade light was shattered. Yan Qihua had blood dripping out of the corner of his mouth as he backed out a couple of steps. He could not believe that his ace attack was completely useless in front of Yichen. It had been completely suppressed, which was something that he could not accept. After shattering Yan Qihua's ace attack with one sword attack, Yichen shook his head secretly. If it were someone else, perhaps he would have been beaten by Yan Qihua. Unfortunately, his opponent's poetic perspective of clouds was not as powerful as his, which was why he was naturally suppressed. Therefore, the power of his poetic perspective of fire had been greatly reduced. The world of martial artists was always complicated. Power was only the foundation, and the most important thing was how to turn one's disadvantage into one's advantage, not being suppressed. According to Yichen's knowledge, clasping Yuan realm warriors had only touched the surface of the poetic perspective. Once they reached the astral reaching realm, the poetic perspective would be the king. Without a high poetic perspective, one's power would be greatly reduced, unless one's foundation was extremely powerful and could ignore other people's poetic perspectives. Just like the minor blood demon separating great art, which was a special earth realm martial art. It did not care about poetic perspectives, but only focused on increasing the warrior's power, which was the foundation. Therefore, for high-level warriors, the basic power was important, but the comprehensive ability was equally important. The former could increase one's natural advantage, while the latter could make up for one's weakness and win against the strong. With both, one would be a powerful warrior. I have not lost yet. Flame cut. After comprehending the peak level 60% blade intent, Yan Qihua's mentality was extra solid, and he would not be affected easily. Right then, he knew that the poetic perspective of clouds would not work on Yichen, so he used the pure poetic perspective of fire and threw it out together with his ace attack. The fire wave was extremely powerful, spreading out everywhere. Poetic perspectives alone are the hardest to understand. Your poetic perspective of fire is not even at the tip of the iceberg. Thunder light exploded as Yichen threw out a sword attack, cutting open the fire wave. His body flashed as he performed his separating shadow flying art. Layers of shadows spread out, spreading out in all directions. Ting! Without seeing the sword light, Yan Qihua's red long blade flew out of his hand. Chapter 283. His sword movement poetic perspective has obviously reached a very high level, almost the same as normal astral reaching realm warriors. It would be fine if Yichen did not expose his poetic perspective completely, but once he did, powerful astral reaching realm warriors would definitely be able to tell. Even clasping Yuan realm warriors would be able to sense the power of Yichen's poetic perspective. After blowing away Yan Qihua's long blade with one sword attack, Yichen jumped back to where he was standing. Talking about the poetic perspective, Yichen had found a different way. The others would use Earth Realm martial arts to slowly understand the poetic perspective, but he had learned it by combining sword movements. both of them had their own advantages. Using a complete Earth Realm martial art to understand the poetic perspective would be easier and easier to master. However, combining sword movements was not only extremely difficult, but also easy to get stuck. But, the advantage of combining sword movements was that during the process of combining, one would be able to understand the poetic perspective more thoroughly and control it more deeply. Therefore, although Yan Qihua had trained a very powerful martial art, he had lost to Yi Chen in terms of poetic perspective. Awoo. After beating Yan Qihua, the dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body spun once before jumping onto his body, trying its best to devour the dragon fountain qi. 26 meters, 27 meters, 28 meters. Yan Qihua's dragon fountain qi was too rich, and Yi Chen's dragon-shaped shadow had grown to 28 meters, just like Xikong Sheng. Of course, Xikong Sheng and Yan Qihua still had to battle, and by then, it should be more than 28 meters, reaching the level of 29 meters. You are very powerful, but unfortunately, you will lose to him eventually. Yan Qihua glanced at Xikong Sheng, who was still in the audience, and reached out his hand to suck back his long blade. Yi Chen said, "You do not need to worry about that. I still have another battle with him. You will see the gap between us." Actually, Yan Qihua had already suspected that Xikong Sheng had reached that level. It was not until the battle between him and Murong Qingcheng, where he had almost shattered the ceiling light wall with one punch, that Yan Qihua finally realized the truth. Because of the arrangement of Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, and Yi Chen to the last two battles were a bit weird. Yan Qihua not only had to fight against Yi Chen, but also against Xikong Sheng, because he had lost to Yi Chen. However, the referees were prepared for this situation. They allowed the uninjured Yan Qihua to rest for half an hour before he went on stage. On the stage, Yan Qihua, who had lost to Yi Chen, held a long saber in his hand. His whole body was surrounded by flames, and his momentum was strong. It was obvious that he had upgraded the 9 Revolutions Fire Spirit technique to the 7th Revolution, the Crimson Flame Battle Body. I know you have reached that level, but I will still fight with all my power. Swinging his long blade, a deep burning mark appeared on the ground as Yan Qihua said to Xikong Sheng. Xikong Sheng's eyebrows flickered slightly. There should be a lot of people who know about it. But I did not expect you to be able to see it when you are only at the clasping Yuan realm. Yan Qihua said, I am not that far away from that level. Otherwise, I would have made a mistake as well. Oh yeah? Make your move then. Fire cloud crack earth cut. Facing Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua did not dare to hold back at all. One of his top 2 ace attacks, the fire cloud crack earth cut, was thrown out aggressively, attacking towards his opponent like a flood. Fist tyrant river. Xikong Sheng took out his right hand from his back. His fist was covered in a thick qi as he threw out a punch. Boom! The fist power was like a dragon crossing the ocean, unstoppable. It split open the fire cloud blade light within a second, attacking towards Yan Qihua. Among all of Yan Qihua's ace attacks, the blink kill golden flame cut was the fastest. He threw out a blade attack, and a gold light flashed in the air, clashing with the fist power. Fist conquering mountains. Xikong Sheng lifted his feet as if they were light as a feather, walking over and throwing out another punch. Boom! The area around Yan Qihua had been restricted like a cage. Even the fire element Shen Qi on his body seemed to be shrinking into his body. He roared, his red flame battle body exploding. The flame was so condensed that it looked like it was real, burning fiercely. It had burned through the air and part of the restriction. His second ace attack, the fire cloud golden flame cut, was ready for the incoming attack. Xikong Sheng's battling power had increased steadily. He threw out a punch, and that powerful fist power had not only shattered Yan Qihua's blade light, it had also blown him away. That shocking power had made most of the people open their eyes wide. Yan Qihua was ranked 2nd in the last hidden dragon rank, and he was ranked 3rd this time. However, he could not even handle 2 punches from Xikong Sheng. What kind of level had Xikongsheng reached? All of the astral reaching realm warriors knew what was going on, but they were still shocked. So powerful. They are both from the young generation, but how could Xikongsheng be this powerful? Yi Chen could not possibly be his opponent. People from the Sky Cloud Martial School looked at each other. The headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School forced a smile and said, Yi Chen being able to reach the second place is already beyond our imagination. There is no need to hope for the first place. Luo Xinglia nodded, I suspect that Xikongsheng has entered the Zhen Yuan purification stage. This. Everyone was shocked, and did not say anything for a long time. His feet landed on the ground unsteadily. Yan Qihua looked like he had expected it. This should be very close to your real power. Xikongsheng said lightly, too bad that you did not have the chance to experience it. Yes, none of us had the chance to experience it. But once I make it to this step, it will not be so clear who will win or lose. Putting his long blade back into its scabbard, Yan Qihua walked off the stage. After losing to Yi Chen and Xikongsheng in a row, his rank had already been confirmed, the third place of the Hidden Dragon rank. When he walked off the stage, Yan Qihua glanced at Yi Chen, as if he was saying, you saw it. Without reaching that level, you will not be his opponent. Yi Chen looked the same, as if he had not heard it at all. Ha! It seems like you still have some tricks up your sleeves. However, no matter how many tricks you have up your sleeves, it would still be useless. Seeing Yi Chen's expression, Yan Qihua probably knew that Yi Chen still had some ace up his sleeves. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful his ace was, it would be useless if he did not have the same power. The battle between two geniuses would not be that easy to win against someone stronger than you. In the 70th round, there were 9 top young warriors who had fought before. Only Li Daoxian had not fought yet. After the battle between Yan Qihua and Xikongsheng had finished, Lin Yun and Li Daoxian, who had already fought against each other, had started to fight. It was Lin Yun's last battle, and it was Li Daoxuan's 8th battle. The reason for the chaos in the competition was because of the problem of arranging Xikongsheng, Yan Qihua, and Yi Chen to fight in the last 2 battles. After exchanging hundreds of attacks, Li Daoxian had barely won against Lin Yun. After resting for an hour, the 70th round had begun. In the 70th round, there were 6 battles in total. Therefore, there were only 4 battles left in the 70th round. They were Yi Chen against Xikongsheng, Li Daoxian against Bing Ling, Murong Qingcheng against Gu Yuyun, and Tuo Baku against Imo Yen. As for Yan Qihua and Lin Yun, they had both gone through 9 battles and fought against 9 top young warriors. So, they would not be involved in this round of battles. First, it was Murong Qingcheng who had beaten Gu Yuyun, and then Tuo Baku who had beaten Imo Yen again. They had fought against each other before in the elimination battles, and then Li Daoxian had also beaten Bing Ling. In the end, there was only 1 battle between top young warriors left, which would be Yi Chen against Xikongsheng. Yi Chen was the biggest dark horse in this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions. He had been through all the battles and had won every single one of them. Up until now, he had not lost a single battle, and had maintained his winning record. The most eye-catching thing was that his power had been increasing along with his opponent's power. He had hidden his ace cards quite well. In the last round, he had even surprised everyone by beating the Fire Spirit Prince, Yan Qihua. Xikongsheng was ranked 2nd and 1st in the last Hidden Dragon rank, the king warrior of the young generation in the South Rudra region. Even someone as powerful as Yan Qihua could not last 2 attacks against him. A lot of people suspected that Xikongsheng's real power was way more than that. As for what his real ace card was, no one knew. This battle was not only the last battle between top young warriors, it was also the last battle of the 70th round. Countless people had their eyes on the 2, holding their breaths. Shoo! Yi Chen got onto the stage first, with his long sword hanging on his waist. Xikongsheng sneered as he took 1 step forward, appearing in front of Yi Chen within a second. His horrifying flying art had caused a lot of people to gasp. Your power is not bad. Even Yan Qihua had lost to you. But the second place will always be the second place. It will not change. Xikong Sheng stood there with his hands behind his back. That kind of aura spreading out through the ceiling light wall. This aura is so powerful. Has Xikong Sheng decided to use his real power? Everyone was shocked. Under the attack of his opponent's aura, Yi Chen's blue robe danced in the air, his long black hair flying in the air. His pitch-black star-like eyes were calm like water, without arrogance or impatience, pure and natural. He was like a top sword artist standing on top of a cliff, neither happy nor sad. He said lightly, until the last second, no one can be sure of the real result. Do you still think so now? Xikong Sheng did not try to explain as he took out both of his hands from his back. His body shook once, and that horrifying Zhen Qi shot out into the sky, covering the whole area. Visible with naked eyes, there were bits of broken light floating out of Xikong Sheng's body. They looked like precious stones, but also like diamonds, crystal clear and extremely condensed. This is Zhen Yuan. No, it is half-step Zhen Yuan. Xikong Sheng had actually started to train his Zhen Yuan. No wonder he was so powerful. Once he used his half-step Zhen Yuan, no one under the astral reaching realm would be able to fight against him. I understand now. In the battles before, Xikong Sheng had diluted his half-step Zhen Yuan into Zhen Qi, which made it hard for people to see through his real power. Indeed, Zhen Yuan could not be diluted into Zhen Qi, but half-step Zhen Yuan could. Xikong Sheng had hidden his power too well. Yi Chen would definitely not be his opponent. No, even Ten Yi Chen would not be his opponent. A king warrior of the young generation with half-step Zhen Yuan would be able to compete with real early astral reaching realm warriors. He might even be able to kill them. Once Xikong Sheng used his half-step Zhen Yuan, no one thought that Yi Chen would have any chance of winning, including people from the Sky Cloud Martial School and the leader of the South Rudra Martial School. Everyone from the Purple Sun Martial School even had a gloating expression on their faces. Yi Chen beating Yan Qihua had already pissed them off, and if he were to get the first place, then it would be even worse. Luckily, there was Xikong Sheng, so it would be impossible for Yi Chen to get the first place. Do you think you can win against me now? Inside his body, the half-step Zhen Yuan was extremely powerful. Xikong Sheng's aura kept on increasing, as if it would never stop. It attacked on Yi Chen's body, wave after wave. Yi Chen lifted his eyelids, a shocking sharp light shooting out from his pupils as he said word by word, I have said it before, until the last one, no one can be sure of the real result. As the last word was spoken, the air around Yi Chen started to vibrate. The air seemed to have been pierced through, as if a legendary weapon was about to come out of its scabbard and kill the whole world. The next second, an extremely horrifying sword intent shot out of his body, piercing through the air. Even the ceiling light wall seemed to be shaking. It was an existence that had surpassed the 60% sword intent. The 70% sword intent, which contained the immortal mentality, exploded. Chapter 284. All of a sudden, the whole battling field became so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping on the ground could be heard. After 2 or 3 blinks of an eye, the crowd started to chatter again. This is the 70% sword intent. Am I seeing it right? Although there is only a 10% difference between 70 and 60%, 70% sword intent has already reached the upper realm of the sword intent, while 60% is only the lower realm. The two are completely different, just like the difference between a high-level warrior and a low-level warrior. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Yi Chen's ace card is the 70% sword intent. Even among the astral reaching realm warriors, very few of them have reached this level. Everyone was shocked, unable to believe what they had just heard. In the front row of the audience seating, Song Yan, the astral reaching realm warrior who had competed with Yi Chen for the sword-shaped plant in the gold tripod city auction, was slightly shocked. He remembered that at that time, Yi Chen's sword intent was only at 50%. Could it be that the two sword-shaped plants had directly increased his sword intent by 20%? It did not seem possible. The sword-shaped plant contained a bit of the Battle King's sword intent, but if one wanted to increase the sword intent with the plant, the chance would be extremely small. It would already be extremely lucky if 1 out of 10 people managed to do it, not to mention increasing it by 20% all of a sudden. Plus, there was a huge gap between the 60% and 70% sword intent. The 60% sword intent was still at the lower realm of the sword intent, while the 70% sword intent was the upper realm. Once one managed to reach the upper realm, it would mean that one had made a great achievement in the sword intent, which would be very meaningful. Before, Song Yan had bought a sword-shaped plant from Yi Chen, but it had only helped him a little bit. His sword intent did not increase at all, and was still at 90%. No matter what, in order to increase the sword intent, one would need to have an extremely powerful understanding of the sword art. Otherwise, even a life and death realm warrior would not be able to be one's teacher. A rare genius of the sword art. Song Yan took a deep breath, his eyes shining brightly. The second Yi Chen released his 70% sword intent, Li Daoxian had finally understood why he had that kind of instinct. It turned out that the biggest reason was Yi Chen, who was powerful enough to compete with Xikong Sheng. This was his real ace card. Before, he had not been serious at all. The realm of sword intent is indeed terrifyingly strong. Li Daoxian made a comparison and found that the 60% sword intent didn't even look like it was going to raise its head in front of the 70% sword intent. As for Yan Qihua, he had almost bitten his own tongue. He had never thought that Yi Chen's hidden ace would be the 70% sword intent. The sword intent was just like the blade intent, the higher the level, the more difficult it would be. But at the same time, the power would also be more and more terrifying. Moreover, the 70% sword intent was the upper level of the sword intent. If Yi Chen used his 70% sword intent during the battle, not only would Yan Qihua's peak 60% blade intent not be able to compete with it, but he would also be suppressed, and would only be able to use 80% of his power. Impossible. How can his sword intent be at such a high level? The leader of the Purple Sun Martial School, Tu Chongshan, tightened his fists. The more powerful Yi Chen was, the more of a threat he would be to the Purple Sun Martial School. Given time, once he reached the astral reaching realm, even the great master might not be able to suppress him, which was not what Tu Chongshan wanted to see. The head master of the Purple Sun Martial School had a bad look on his face as he sneered, Xikong Sheng is not a pushover. The half-step Zhen Yuan had increased his power in all aspects, and he would be able to compete with early astral reaching realm warriors. But, Yi Chen cannot be allowed to live either. After the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, we will find a chance to kill him, no matter how high the price is. Indeed. This guy cannot be allowed to live. Otherwise, the Purple Sun Martial School would never have a chance to rise again. Kill. All of the people from the Purple Sun Martial School had a murderous look on their faces. On the judge's seat, the 13 judges gasped. I had thought that Xikong Sheng would definitely win. But now, it seems like the first place of the Hidden Dragon rank is not a foregone conclusion. One of the judges sighed. The former Group 3 judge, who had been watching Yi Chen win all the battles, nodded, not even 18 years old, 70% sword intent. This has definitely broken the record of the sword artists in the South Rudra region for decades. It would not be wrong to call him the rare sword art genius in the South Rudra region. It is not easy to make a conclusion yet. The head judge said, extracting Zhen Yuan depends on the rank of the martial arts, and the number of times is different. For mid-rank Earth Realm martial arts, it would take 8 times to convert the Zhen Qi into Zhen Yuan. For high-rank Earth Realm martial arts, it would take 4 times, and for top-rank Earth Realm martial arts, it would take 2 times. Sheng had already done it once, and he was at the half-step Jin Yuan level. Although it would not be like the Jin Yuan, which could burn the Jin Yuan to increase the power, the quality would be way better than normal Jin Qi. The attacking power it would bring would not just be a little bit, but would be doubled. If Yi Chen wants to compete with Sheng, it would still be a bit difficult for him to do it with only 70% sword intent. Extracting Jin Yuan was a very difficult process, and it would take a long time. Even a martial genius would not be able to do it in a short amount of time. But once it was done once, the power would increase drastically, and he would be able to reach the next level. With 70% sword intent coming out of his body, Yi Chen felt a lot more relaxed. Before, he had limited his sword intent, which made it hard for him to fight freely. But Yi Chen believed that if there was a Yi Chen who had only learned 60% sword intent, he would definitely be able to beat him, who had limited his sword intent to 60%, because the former would be the most comfortable way for him to fight, while he would have to put on the shackles of his own accord, which would make it different. The pure horrifying sword intent spread out in the air, piercing through the air. Sheng's storm-like aura had been shattered into nothingness by the sword intent once it got close. Right then, Yi Chen was like a godly weapon that had been unearthed from the ground, telling the world what it meant to be sharp and unstoppable. Pooh! Sheng could vaguely hear his aura being shattered. His slightly raised eyelids finally dropped down, his eyes looking at Yi Chen at the same level. Very good. I thought it would be a one-sided battle. Right now, you are qualified for me to be serious. But of course, that is all. His aura had stopped spreading out, and Sheng took back his aura. His not-so-tall body was like a mountain, an unreachable peak. Under the influence of the sword intent, the star-scar sword vibrated slightly, seeming to want to get out of its scabbard and kill everything in front of it. Yi Chen did not look happy or angry as he said, "No need to talk anymore. Let's fight." Once the word "fight" came out, Yi Chen's sword intent became even sharper. Everyone seemed to see a peerless great sword floating above Yi Chen's head, which would be able to kill with just a thought. All of the young girls saw this scene, their hearts beating extremely fast, and their faces blushed. Let me remind you that only with the help of half-step Jin Yuan can my mysterious Sky Tyrant fist art perform its peak power. With both of his hands hanging casually on his sides, Sheng took a step forward. That ocean-like aura exploded again, looking down on the whole world. Sheng is going to attack. This is his first real attack. The young generation under the stage could feel their hearts racing uncontrollably. Their mouths were all dry, and they could not even blink their eyes, afraid to miss the most crucial moment. His aura exploding to its limit, Sheng yelled, "Take my first fist attack." Fist conquering the world. Boom! The battling platform shook violently, cracks appearing out of nowhere. Then, the space where Yi Chen was suddenly tightened and collapsed, forming a natural prison, trapping Yi Chen inside. At the same time, that powerful fist power attacked out along with Sheng's aura. Crack! 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 After throwing out one fist attack, the battling platform, which had gone through countless battles and was only slightly damaged, created a tunnel. That aggressive chi flow made everyone's scalp numb. Chin! Yi Chen took out his star-scar sword with his right hand. His 70% sword intent had found a target to attach to. That horrifying sharp light spread out in all directions, shocking everyone. Right then, the sword intent was the most powerful sword intent. If a sword artist did not take out his sword, the sword intent would not be able to perform its peak power. Sky-shattering clouds. A half-meter thick bolt of lightning shot out. Not only did it break free from the shackles of space, it also absorbed enough thunder and cloud elemental energy from the air. Under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, it heavily slammed into the fist energy. Boom! The air started to explode. That horrifying collision power formed a visible shining pattern and horrifying chi flow. The ceiling light wall could no longer handle the destructive power of the two attacks, and started to expand to its limit. Along with a popping sound, countless tiny cracks appeared. The chi flow and the remaining sword chi shot out through the cracks, looking like countless arm-thick light pillars. Looking over, the whole battling platform looked like a shining hedgehog. The ceiling light wall had been punctured. Everyone was shocked. Watch out! Around the battling platform was an abyss, and on the other side of the abyss was where the young warriors were standing. Seeing those beams of chi flow and sword chi shooting towards them, the young warriors screamed out loud. They all performed their ace attacks to protect themselves while backing out step by step. So horrifying. Just the aftermath of the chi flow is enough to make us use all of our power. The young warriors could feel the gap between them and the two on the stage, so they were getting more and more shocked. Murong Qingchen waved off the chi flow attack, staring at the two on the stage without blinking. More specifically, she was paying attention to Yi Chen, the one who had shocked everyone from the beginning to the end. Yi Chen and Xikong Sheng both backed out dozens of meters at the same time. That exchange just now was more or less a test, so it was not their most powerful attack. Half-step Zhen Yuan. It is indeed powerful. It was the first time that Yi Chen had felt such a huge pressure. If he did not use all of his power, he might very well lose. The young king warriors of the South Rudra region were always talking nonsense. 70% sword intent, the poetic perspective of cloud and thunder. Xikong Sheng looked surprised. As Yi Chen's 70% sword intent exploded, his martial poetic perspective had also reached an extremely high level, and he could not afford to underestimate it. Waving his sleeves, Xikong Sheng said lightly, "Being able to block out this fist attack means that you indeed have the power to compete with me. But, that was just a test. For the next one, you will have to be extra careful." The mountain-conquering fist had the effect of binding space, so its attacking power would inevitably be a bit weaker. Xikong Sheng knew that instead of binding his opponent, it would be better to beat his opponent with absolute power. This sword attack was also my test. The sky-shattering clouds does not only have this kind of power. For this hidden dragon rank competition, Yi Chen had prepared a lot. He had more than 3 ace attacks, 2 of which he would not use unless absolutely necessary. Still just a test. No way. The first exchange between the two had already shocked everyone. Now hearing them say that it was just a test, everyone was speechless. Chapter 285. Indeed, these two have already surpassed our level. Before the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank had started, Tuo Baku had used his wild instinct to guess that Xikong Sheng and Yi Chen were the most powerful warriors. Right now, his guess had come true. Xikong Sheng's biggest ace was his half-step Zhen Yuan, while Yi Chen's was 70% sword intent. No one in the young generation could threaten them. On the battling platform, Yi Chen held his star scar sword, the Zhen Qi inside his body operating at an extreme speed. His sharp sword intent and sword aura continued to climb, preparing for the next powerful sword attack. Xikong Sheng, who was standing in front of him, was also accumulating his power. His fist aura was extremely rich, turning into waves of powerful poetic perspectives. The two had gotten rid of the feeling of testing each other, and decided to use all of their power. Boom! It was almost within the same second that the two started to attack each other fiercely. Sky-shattering clouds. 5 movements combined. Yi Chen's pupils had almost been dyed into a bright blue color, which was the color of thunder and lightning. His body was running at an extreme speed while the star scar sword in his hand had turned into a lightning light attacking crazily. His speed was extremely fast, with a hint of lightness in it. Fist Tyrant River. Xikong Sheng looked very serious as he threw out an ace attack. That powerful fist aura had pierced through the air in front of him. Boom! The thunder sword light and the powerful fist power clashed together. The whole battling platform started to shake. The broken rocks on the platform floated up into the air, turning into a strange, still state. The next second, the air started to vibrate like boiling water. That aggressive chi power spread out in all directions, exploding suddenly. Yu Qin could not stop his body, and was blown hundreds of meters away by that chi power. Such a condensed fist power. Yu Qin controlled his chi and blood that were going against the flow. Although that sword attack was still his sky-shattering clouds, it was the combination of 5 movements of his sky-cloud sword art. It was more than twice as powerful as the combination of 4 movements. After all, he had spent so many days in the competitions, and it had given him a lot of inspiration. However, Xikong Sheng's fist power was even more aggressive. It had been completely combined into one. With only one fist power, it had shaken the whole world. The sword intent and the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds had both been shattered by it. His mysterious sky tyrant fist art is probably the most horrifying top-rank Earth realm fist art. No matter the movements or mentality, they are all top-notch. I am slightly disadvantaged in terms of martial art rank. Although fusing sword moves could solve the problem temporarily, it was not a long-term solution after all. If he wanted to have more potential, he would have to find a top-rank Earth realm sword art to cultivate. Of course, top-rank Earth realm martial arts couldn't be lacking either. However, my mentality of thunder and clouds is not ordinary either. Combined with 70% sword intent, its explosive power is definitely top-notch. Yu Qin let out a breath, looking at Xikong Sheng in front of him. Under the explosion of his chi, Xikong Sheng had backed out less than 10 meters compared to Yu Qin. However, he was not feeling any better either. That thunder sword light was full of explosive power, and it had released its most powerful power in a very short period of time, which made the fist power of the mysterious sky tyrant fist unable to shatter it immediately. The reason why he was able to back out less than 10 meters was because Xikong Sheng's basic power was more powerful than Yu Qin's. No matter cultivation, Zhenqi quality, or quantity, he was more powerful than Yu Qin. This was his biggest advantage, but also Yu Qin's biggest disadvantage. Good, very good. In these 3 years, you are the first young warrior that could make me back out. You should be proud. Lifting up his eyes, Xikong Sheng's gaze was like that of a god, full of confidence, but now, I will not hold back anymore. You need to be prepared to be badly wounded. Just bring it on. No need to talk too much. Yu Qin's sword intent was condensed without disappearing. It was getting sharper and sharper, shaking the air around him. In fact, up until now, he had never truly released his 70% sword intent, because his 70% sword intent was different from other people's 70% sword intent. From the Battle King's 2 sword intents, he had learned a little bit of immortal mentality. After a couple of months of accumulation, his sword intent could finally stay in the real world for 5 blinks of an eye. It was an extremely horrifying improvement, since even other people's completed sword intent did not have this kind of effect. Shoo! Moving his body within a second, Xikong Sheng wanted to get close to Yu Qin and attack him with a deadly attack. My movement art is not weaker than yours either. As the wind blew, Yu Qin's body disappeared like a pile of black smoke. Seeing that, Xikong Sheng frowned. In his sight, Yu Qin's figure could no longer be seen. Yu Qin's movement art was also at the top rank Earth realm, and it contained a very special effect. His whole body seemed to have turned into a shadow. Since this is the case, take my fist-shattering river. Stopping his body, Xikong Sheng locked onto Yu Qin again, throwing out a fist attack. Immortal sky-shattering clouds. The immortal mentality from his sword intent had been poured into his sword movement. Yu Qin held his star-scar sword with both of his hands, throwing out a dark blue thunder light towards Xikong Sheng. The thunder light was like a waterfall, shooting out violently. Crack! Crack! A weird scene happened. Xing's fist power was extremely condensed, but no matter how powerful it was, it could not shatter the thunder light formed by the sword qi. It seemed like that thunder light had the ability to repair itself, as it continued to absorb power from the surreal space. Within a blink of an eye, the fist power and the sword qi exploded at the same time, combining together and creating a horrifying qi tornado that spread out crazily. Boom! Yi Chen's back was stuck on the ceiling light wall. He tasted something sweet in his mouth, and blood dripped out from the corner of his mouth. His protective Jin Qi was still a bit weak after all, and could not block out the vibration of the fist power completely. Added with the aftershock of the qi tornado, he was slightly wounded. Shoo! Backing out for almost 100 meters, Xing's confident expression froze. Within the qi tornado, a beam of sword qi shot out, brushing past his left arm and bringing up a stream of blood. Such a horrifying qi tornado had not been able to shatter the sword qi completely. There was still a bit of it left, attacking Xing. Horrifying. What kind of sword qi was that? The audience gasped one after another. Everyone in the younger generation was stunned. The intensity of the battle was beyond their imagination. The ceiling light curtain was like a leaking balloon. From time to time, 1 or 2 beams of qi would shoot out, riddling the light curtain with thousands of holes. Xing has been hit by the sword qi. Yi Chen's 70% sword intent is way more powerful than the normal 70% sword intent. It would be impossible to destroy it within a short period of time. Otherwise, Xing would not be wounded at all. In the beginning, although Yi Chen had exploded with that horrifying 70% sword intent, there were not many people who thought he would win, including the 13 judges. However, after a while of battling, Yi Chen had not only not fallen into a disadvantage, but had even managed to fight against Xing. Right now, Yi Chen had crashed into the ceiling light wall and was slightly wounded, but Xing had also been scratched by the sword qi on his left arm, which was also slightly wounded. The record of being unwounded in the last hidden dragon rank had been broken. Is this still the young generation? Even the warriors who had just reached the astral reaching realm would not be this powerful. A battle between the top of the young generation. If the hidden dragon rank competitions want to surpass this battle, it would be extremely hard. It would be almost impossible in the next hundreds of years. Indeed. Their battle was already like the battle between normal early astral reaching realm warriors. It would be extremely rare. Once they reach the astral reaching realm, it would be even more powerful. Everyone was shocked. The battle had progressed to this point, and it had already gone beyond their imagination. No one knew what would happen next. Yi Chen. Ji Xuan could feel that her heart was beating extremely fast. All she could see was Yi Chen, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. Su Jing and Murong Qingcheng were all focused on Yi Chen as well. Damn! How is this possible? The leader of the Purple Sun Martial School, Tu Chongshan, gasped at first, then became extremely furious. He had never thought that Yi Chen would be able to fight against Xing. He thought that once Xing got serious, Yi Chen would lose. So scary. He is definitely a monster. Right now, he already has the power to threaten early astral reaching realm warriors. All of the core masters of the Purple Sun Martial School looked at each other. There was a heavy worry and killing intent in their eyes. Tu Chongshan tried his best to control his emotions. He thought to himself word by word, no matter what, you are going to die. I will let you live a little longer. What a strange sword qi. It is so hard to destroy. Xing sealed the bleeding meridian on his left arm as he looked at Yi Chen, who was hundreds of meters away. Even though he had the half-step Jin Yuan protection, it was still pierced through by that almost indestructible sword qi. If it were not for his fast reflexes, that sword qi would have gone through his left arm for sure, instead of just brushing past his skin. It was a very dangerous situation indeed. The immortal mentality is indeed powerful. Within 5 blinks of an eye, the sword chi is almost impossible to destroy completely. There would always be some left to attack. Even Yi Chen himself was a bit surprised. Ever since he had learned the 70% sword intent, he had never fought with anyone with all of his power. He did not know exactly what the immortal mentality could do. But through this battle, he had learned how powerful the immortal mentality was. On the other hand, the Battle King's power had shocked him even more. That was a sword intent that had not disappeared for 500 years. How much immortal mentality was contained in it? From now on, you will not have another chance. Xikong Sheng's eyes were cold. His body kept flashing, as if he had teleported for a short distance, approaching Yi Chen. Yi Chen performed his separating shadow flying art to increase the distance between them. It was not yet the time for him to perform his lone peak kill. In fact, it was already unknown whether or not the lone peak kill would work. His opponent's half-step Jin Yuan was not within his expectation, which had lowered the possibility of killing him with one attack. In everyone's sight, they could not even see a human figure on the vast battling platform. All they could see were piles of black smoke and human shadows flashing endlessly. The former was Yi Chen's separating shadow flying art. When pushed to its limit, the black shadow would be like smoke, leaving no trace behind. The latter was Xikong Sheng's teleportation art. Because of its extreme speed, it would only appear once in a while, making it hard to tell where it was. Lose. All of a sudden, Xikong Sheng flashed twice and appeared not far away from Yi Chen, throwing out a punch that seemed to be able to break through the surreal space. Danger! Yi Chen's body turned into black smoke, disappearing with the wind. Pooh! Having lost its target, the fist power did not stop. It blew through the ceiling light wall, creating a huge hole. No way! The ceiling light wall has been broken through. Before, the ceiling light wall had been broken by the chi tornado created by the two's attacks. It was just a small hole, which was not that big. Right now, Xikong Sheng had thrown out a punch and broken through the ceiling light wall all by himself, which made everyone open their eyes wide. They knew that it meant that Xikong Sheng's full power attack could already break through an early astral reaching realm warrior's protective Jin Yuan layer. Chapter 286. Lone Peak Kill. Xikong Sheng threw out a punch, but there was a slight pause. Yi Chen seized the opportunity, turning his body and stabbing out with his sword. With the help of the 70% sword intent that contained the immortal mentality, the fatal poetic perspective spread out, covering Xikong Sheng within a 10 meters radius. Xikong Sheng knew that it was not going to be good, so he forced himself to break out of the poetic perspective and teleported dozens of meters away. Pooh! A beam of sword chi shot out, piercing through the ceiling light wall. All of the clasping Yuan realm warriors in the audience seating felt their mouths go dry. The two's attacking power was unbelievable. One had pierced through the ceiling light wall, while the other had pierced through it. If it were a clasping Yuan realm warrior, who would be able to handle it? Not to mention a clasping Yuan realm warrior, even a normal early astral reaching realm warrior would not be able to handle it. Another indestructible sword chi. Xikong Sheng looked serious. If it were not for his half-step Jin Yuan and his powerful mental power, that sword attack would have wounded him badly. Both of them threw out one attack each, then continued to fight. Xikong Sheng used his teleportation step art to catch Yi Chen's trace from time to time, throwing out his most aggressive attacks. Meanwhile, Yi Chen used the super dodging ability of his separating shadow flying art to keep dodging all of those attacks. Once he found the chance, he would throw out a dangerous counterattack. Everyone in the audience could only hear the horrifying sound of attacks, as the ceiling light wall was pierced through again and again. Boom! This time, the ceiling light wall had been torn apart directly. The fist power and the sword chi had been combined together, attacking towards the young warriors on the other side of the abyss. It turned out that Yi Chen and Xikong Sheng did not want to give in to each other. During the battle, they had both made up their minds and threw out an attack. The head judge frowned as he extended his body, covering hundreds of meters in front of that horrifying chi flow. He reached out his hand to block it out. Although the combined chi flow of the two was extremely powerful, the head judge was a late astral reaching realm warrior. He could shatter the ground with just a wave of his hand, so this chi flow would not be a threat to him. The chi flow had disappeared as the head judge turned his head and said, "Back out a bit." Hearing him, the young warriors did not dare to try their best. They all backed out. The attacks from Yi Chen and Xikongxing alone could kill them, not to mention the combined chi flow. Undying heaven-shattering clouds. Gradually getting used to the maximum distance of Xikongxing's teleportation, Yi Chen intercepted him in advance. He then held his sword with only one hand, waving it out at an even faster speed. The thunder roared, attacking towards Xikongxing. Oh! Unfortunately, my space teleport step can also teleport in midair. Before his feet had even touched the ground, Xikongxing's body flashed once, returning to where he was standing. Whoosh! The ceiling light wall was torn apart, and the thunder sword chi flew towards the audience seating. It was caught by a mid-astral reaching realm warrior. Once Xikongxing returned to where he was standing, he threw out an ace attack towards Yi Chen. Boom! On the other side, the ceiling light wall had also been broken through. As for Yi Chen, he had already activated his separating shadow flying art the moment he missed Xikongxing's attack. Xikongxing had already prepared for his next attack. Aiming at the direction where Yi Chen was going to dodge, he bent his back and formed a fist with his left hand, throwing out a punch on the platform. Fist shaking mountains and seas. That powerful fist power spread out, looking like waves in the ocean. It was also like countless steep mountains, pressing towards Yi Chen, blocking his escape route. Yi Chen knew that there was no way out, so he held his star scar sword with both of his hands and threw out a sword attack. The ocean had turned violent, and the mountains had collapsed. Yi Chen's sword attack had directly destroyed the fist aura of the mysterious sky tyrant fist art. Naturally, it had also turned into tiny electric arcs and disappeared. Yi Chen, this fist attack was supposed to be my ace attack. I was not planning to use it in the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank, because no one is worthy enough for me to use it. It is still not too late for you to give up now. Otherwise, with this fist attack, you will either die or be badly wounded. Even I would not be able to control it. As one of the king warriors of the young generation, Xikongxing would always leave some ace attacks for himself, in case his power was seen through by others. However, Yi Chen's power was completely out of his expectation. If he did not use this ace attack, it would be hard for him to win this battle. Yi Chen looked surprised. He did not know that Xikongxing still had an ace attack, so he said, "You have left your ace attack, but so have I. Then let's use our ace attack to see who is better." Once he used it, it would be like telling them that it was him who killed Yuan Zongbua. Plus, the minor blood demon separating great art was the blood demon's secret martial art. If he used it, he would not know what the consequences would be. Yi Chen did not like to do things that he could not control. Besides that, he did not plan to use that bit of Jin Yuan that he had refined from the mysterious great art either. He believed that if he used it, it would be enough to beat Xikongxing, who had only trained half-step Jin Yuan. However, the Jin Yuan was his last ace attack, and also his most powerful one. The future was unpredictable, and if he used it, he would have less chance to save his life. Then, there was only the third ace attack left. They still have more ace attacks. All of the warriors who were watching the battle were completely numb. They felt that they had never seen such powerful clasping Yuan realm warriors in their entire lives. Since you do not know what is good for you, then don't blame me for not warning you. Xikongxing yelled. The aura around his body started to expand and spread out. His whole body did not seem to have changed much, but it gave people a feeling that he had grown infinitely tall, standing in the sky. Sky-breaking fist. This fist attack was the ace attack of the Sky Tyrant fist art. Performed by Sikong Sheng, who had the aura of a giant, it shot out with an unstoppable momentum, shattering the surreal space. Just as he finished speaking, Yi Chen was ready to perform his ace attack. He held the sword with both of his hands, and sank his mind into the sword intent. It was like an ancient well without any ripples. It was secretly accumulating a horrifying power, giving people a feeling of the calm before the storm, or the darkness before the dawn. Waiting until Sikong Sheng's fist power had been thrown out, Yi Chen had finished accumulating his power. He threw out a sword attack. Kill Heart. Boom. The fist power and the sword chi clashed together violently. The ceiling light wall on the four sides was shattered at the same time. It was shattered by brute force. A massive chi flow spread out, spreading out in all directions. Looking up, a shocking scene happened. Sikong Sheng's fist power had been punctured through by a sword attack, quickly dispersing. At the same time, Yi Chen's sword chi did not disappear completely. It heavily landed on Sikong Sheng's half-step protective Jin Yuan along with a determined poetic perspective. His half-step protective Jin Yuan was torn apart. Sikong Sheng puked out a mouthful of blood and was blown backward. Who? Yi Chen breathed heavily. Throwing out that sword attack had consumed a lot of his mental power, and his condition had dropped a bit. However, he was very satisfied with its power. He had performed this kill heart sword attack before. It was when he was fighting against the Wind Wolf in the Gold Tripod City. Back then, he was trying to combine his lone peak kill, and accidentally combined the one sword attack into it, killing the Wind Wolf with only one sword attack. Back then, he was only a mid-class Bing Yuan realm warrior, and the two combined sword attacks did not have much power. His sword intent was only at 50%, which meant that his power was not even worth mentioning compared to his current power. However, the Wind Wolf could not even handle that sword attack and was killed right away, although it was not in its peak condition back then. Right now, Yi Chen's lone peak kill had reached completion, and he had 70% sword intent, which also contained the immortal mentality. Plus, his mysterious great art had been trained to its 11th highest realm, and his cultivation had reached the late-class Bing Yuan realm. The power of his kill heart had increased by more than 10 times. Beating Sikong Sheng was not a surprise at all. Luckily, the lone peak kill had reached completion, and the one sword attack itself did not have any flaws. Otherwise, it would be extremely hard to combine them together. I would only be able to do it occasionally. Chapter 287. Lifting up his head, Yi Chen looked at Sikong Sheng, who had been blown away. Sikong Sheng was in the air, his left hand opened into a claw, blocking out the dark blue kill heart sword chi. There was blood dripping down from his hand, which was caused by the sword chi going through his half-step Jin Yuan. Letting out a breath, Sikong Sheng crushed the sword chi with one hand and landed on the ground. He had to back out for dozens of steps before he could stabilize his body. A surprised look appeared in his eyes as he said with a dry throat, "I did not expect you to still have a killing sword art attack." The kill heart sword attack not only contained a horrifying killing poetic perspective, but its destructive power and speed were also unimaginable. Just like its name, it could kill the heart with one sword attack. Yi Chen was a bit surprised. Among the three ace attacks, the Jin Yuan that he had refined from the mysterious great art was just a suppression of power, which was not really a technique. The minor blood demon body separating great art would affect the use of the one sword attack, while the one sword attack combined with the lone peak kill would be the kill heart sword attack. Therefore, in terms of attacking power, it might not be as powerful as the kill heart sword attack. Without any exaggeration, the kill heart sword attack was his most powerful sword attack, but it still could not beat Sikong Sheng right away. His opponent's basic power was way beyond his imagination. Of course, although Yi Chen's mental state had dropped a bit, his attacking power was still at least 90%. Sikong Sheng had blocked out that kill heart sword attack, and it would be great if he could still have 60 to 70% of his attacking power. Same to you. Yi Chen let out a breath slowly, without changing his expression. Pooh. Sikong Sheng's condition was worse than Yi Chen had imagined. After saying that, he puked out another mouthful of blood. The kill heart sword chi did not seem to have broken through his defense, but the tiny sword chi on it had gotten into his body and clashed with his half-step Jin Yuan, which had caused him quite a bit of damage. All the warriors watching the battle were shocked. The last battle was Yi Chen's victory. They had never imagined this result, since Sikong Sheng was so powerful and unstoppable, which had left a deep impression on them. But even such a powerful Sikong Sheng had been defeated by Yi Chen. The impact it brought was simply earth-shattering. This dark horse is really dark. He has been dark all the way to the end. Even Sikong Sheng has been killed. Someone in the audience seats said. Look, the sect leaders of the rank 6 sects are all stunned. Hee hee. I guess even they themselves did not expect that the first place of the hidden dragon rank would be taken by an unknown rising star instead of a disciple from any of their martial institutions. The leader of the floating mountain martial school was a bit absent-minded. This was the first time since he had reached the Sea of Souls realm. Sikong Sheng losing to Yi Chen had shocked him way too much, so much so that he could not believe it even until now. He thought that he was hallucinating. Shaking his head, his expression turned gloomy. The champion of the hidden dragon rank was not just a simple fame, but also an unbelievable luck. It was something that the floating mountain martial school and Sikong Sheng could not live without. But right now, it had been snatched away by someone else. Damn it, where did this brat come from? His eyes landed on Yi Chen, and the ceiling light wall between the two suddenly changed, bringing up a series of ripples. It was the qi reaction brought by his eyes, which had actually triggered the natural yuan qi. The other leaders of the 5 rank 6 martial institutions were also shocked for a second, but soon a light smile appeared on their faces. Although their martial disciples did not get the champion, the floating mountain martial school did not either. In this case, it was a tie for them, which would benefit Yi Chen and his martial institution. With this kind of luck, they would definitely have a bright future. Everyone from the Sky Cloud Martial School had not come back to their senses yet, as if they were still in a dream. They had never expected to be the champion of the hidden dragon rank, not even to think about it. It was not because they did not dare to, but because they thought it was impossible. The top 6 rank 6 martial institutions were extremely powerful, and they had a lot of great martial arts. The young generation that they had trained with all their power would not be something that others could compare with. In the past 8 out of 10 hidden dragon rank competitions, the top 10 would always be occupied by disciples from rank 6 martial institutions. Occasionally, there would only be 1 or 2 disciples from rank 7 martial institutions. Since the ancient times, there had never been a rank 9 martial institution that had made it into the top 10 of the hidden dragon rank, not to mention the champion. Leader, this is not the potential that our Sky Cloud Martial School should have. It is Yi Chen. The headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School said suddenly. Luo Xinglia said, what do you mean? Since the ancient times, when life and death realm warriors were growing up, they would all show extraordinary potential. They could easily break the rules and create miracles. Not to mention the ancient times, even within the past 1,000 years, all of the life and death realm warriors had been pushing their way into the life and death realm. Among them, the Battle King, Su King, and Xian Ho had shown the most amazing potential. They were even more powerful than Yi Chen right now, and they had also made the biggest achievements. Of course, Yi Chen was born with a defect, and he had just started to rise up. It would be hard to tell how much he would be able to achieve in the future, but he undoubtedly has the potential to reach the life and death realm. Hearing him, Luo Xinglia nodded. The headmaster was right, the Sky Cloud Martial School would not have this kind of potential. The problem was most likely with Yi Chen. When a person's potential was beyond the martial institution, then he would have the possibility to reach the life and death realm. This had all been shown by Yi Chen. It seems like he had a feeling that he would not be able to achieve anything great if he stayed in the martial institution. That is why he went out to train. The martial institution was like a chain that would restrict the growth of the young generation of life and death realm warriors. This chain would get heavier and heavier as one's cultivation increased. One would have to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, no matter how great one's potential was, it would all be wasted away, and one would become a normal martial genius. The path to become a life and death realm warrior has to be walked by himself. Let's let him go. The headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School sighed. His chi and blood, which had been worn away by time, started to boil again. What could be more exciting than watching someone become a life and death realm warrior? Nothing. While the atmosphere in the Sky Cloud Martial School was heated, the people in the Rudra Martial School suddenly became silent. Long Bai let out a long breath. I have to admit that I was wrong. This is not a flood dragon, but a real dragon that has been hiding in the deep abyss. Once the thunder roars, the hidden dragon will come out of the abyss. His power is comparable to the top martial geniuses of the true spirit continent. According to the old leader, the purpose of the hidden dragon rank is to find the real dragon hiding in the abyss. If the real dragon does not show up, the luck of the South Rudra region will be low. It seems like there has not been a life and death realm warrior in the South Rudra region for 500 years. Hearing her, the headmaster of the Rudra Martial School said. Long Bai sighed. It is not that easy for a life and death realm warrior to be born. Every time one of them appears, it would consume a huge amount of luck. Luck is very mysterious, and no one knows how to make up for it. After such a long time, the luck of the South Rudra region has basically been worn out. Only the hidden dragon ancient place is left, and no one can shake it. The leader of the Nine Ghost cult came to the Hidden Dragon Ancient Place because he wanted to absorb the luck of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Place to make up for himself and reach the limit of the life and death realm. If he succeeded, there would never be a life and death realm warrior in the South Rudra region, and it would become an unbreakable forbidden place. The words King Forbidden Place seemed to have an endless magical power. The headmaster of the Rudra Martial School stopped talking. Sikong Sheng, who was known as the king warrior of the young generation in the South Rudra region and had the highest chance of becoming a life and death realm warrior, had lost. Everyone was shocked, wondering if it meant that Yi Chen was the one who had the highest chance of becoming a life and death realm warrior, and not Sikong Sheng. Because for people who had the potential to become a life and death realm warrior, every time they failed, their luck would be taken away. Even with the help of the Dragon Fountain Chi, the lost luck would still be valuable. Countless people in the true spirit continent had died at the peak of the Sea of Souls realm because of that little bit of luck. There was a rumor in the true spirit continent that a person who had walked through mountains of corpses and oceans of blood without losing once would have the chance to become a life and death realm warrior even if he did not have the potential to become a life and death realm warrior. However, if a person had endless potential but failed too many times, his luck and potential would be taken away as well. In everyone's eyes, Sikong Sheng had lost way too badly this time. Normally, even 10 times of losing would not be as bad as this. If Sikong Sheng managed to get into the first place of the Hidden Dragon rank without any suspense, then the rest of his life would be completely different. At least, he would be able to walk a lot less. The leader of the Floating Mountain Martial School sneered. Sikong Sheng had the help of the Dragon Fountain Chi, added with his king bloodline, so his luck and potential would not be taken away. If he could beat Yi Chen again in the future, it would not be impossible for him to take back his luck. Sheng, don't disappoint me. Awoo. Just when all the warriors who were watching the battle were shocked, the battling platform changed again. The 28 meters long dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body jumped towards Sikong Sheng. After devouring a huge amount of Dragon Fountain Chi, it continued to grow. 29 meters, 90 meters. Once it reached 90 meters, the dragon-shaped shadow stopped expanding. The scales and claws on its body started to become clearer and clearer, looking majestic and powerful. Looking at it was like looking at a real dragon in the clouds. The dragon-shaped shadow opened its eyes. Wherever it looked, there would be nothing but silence. Even the 6 Sea of Souls realm warriors did not dare to challenge its majesty, so they tried to avoid looking at it. They were not afraid of the dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body. What they were afraid of was the hidden dragon ancient city that was connected with the dragon-shaped shadow. They had no doubt that once they had bad intentions, it would bring unimaginable bad luck to themselves and their martial institutions. The lesson they had learned in the past was still fresh in their minds. Before the first wave subsided, another wave arose. The martial arts platform above the abyss suddenly trembled. The light screen of the ceiling platform flickered in and out. It was extremely unstable. In the next second, a huge amount of dragon-shaped chi flow gathered in the abyss, forming into a huge dragon chi that was unfathomably long. The dragon chi roared into the sky, the sound wave blowing away the rain and the dark clouds. Finally, a red sun could be seen, shining down on the whole hidden dragon ancient city. After everything was done, the huge head of the dragon chi broke through the ceiling light wall and landed on the edge of the battling platform. It opened its mouth, looking immeasurably deep. Yi Chen and Xikong Sheng had always been calm and steady. But seeing the dragon chi right in front of them, their hearts started to beat uncontrollably. In their sight, the dragon chi's head was almost half the size of the battling platform. It was 50 meters wide and 200 meters long. Its whiskers were waving in the wind. Wherever it went, the space started to blur. Inside the dragon's mouth, a swirl was forming at a visible speed. It was like a black hole, absorbing the mysterious power from the surreal space. This is the Hidden Dragon's secret realm. The Hidden Dragon's secret realm that has not appeared for thousands of years. Some of the knowledgeable people let out a scream, which spread out everywhere. According to the rumors, when a young generation's dragon-shaped shadow reached 90 meters, it would sense the Hidden Dragon ancient city and open the extremely mysterious Hidden Dragon's secret realm. Only the young generation with the Dragon Fountain Chi could enter the Hidden Dragon's secret realm. Chapter 288. The Hidden Dragon's secret realm is the biggest martial art sacred place in the whole South Rudra region. However, it has never appeared before. I did not expect to see it today. Yeah, if I have guessed it right, that lively dragon chi should be the only entrance to the Hidden Dragon's secret realm. Once it disappears, no one will be able to enter. I am so jealous. The young generation is already extremely powerful. If they come out of the Hidden Dragon's secret realm, their power would definitely increase drastically, especially Yi Chen and Xikong Sheng. Their attacking power is already equivalent to warriors who have just reached the astral reaching realm. If they increase drastically, they might even be able to compete with early astral reaching realm warriors. Although the first two had broken the ceiling light wall, it was dead, while the early astral reaching realm warriors were alive. It would not be easy to hit them. Plus, after reaching the astral reaching realm, all of their Zhen Qi would be converted into Zhen Yuan. Under the burning Zhen Yuan mode, their power would increase drastically. With the two's attacking power right now, they could only compete with early astral reaching realm warriors under normal conditions. If they ran into early astral reaching realm warriors who were risking their lives, it would be very likely for them to die. They would not even be able to compete with Xian Ho, who could kill 2 or 3 early astral reaching realm warriors at the same time. Of course, Xian Ho was the #1 martial genius in the past 1,000 years, so it was understandable that she was so powerful. But, if the two could also reach this level at the clasping Yuan realm, then it would be really shocking. All of a sudden, people started to have different opinions. A lot of the warriors who were watching the battle looked envious, including the astral reaching realm warriors. The martial arts sacred place was not a normal place. Once one entered, he or she would be able to make great progress in martial arts. As for how much progress one could make, it would depend on one's comprehensive ability and power. The entrance of the hidden dragon's secret realm will be open for 6 hours. Hurry up and heal your wounds. Go in with your best condition. All of the leaders called back their disciples who had entered the hidden dragon rank, their voices sounding urgent. Soon, all of the young warriors on the hidden dragon rank had disappeared, leaving only dozens of them. Yi Chen did not leave the battling platform. He sat on the ground with his legs crossed, taking out a soul-replenishing pellet from his storage ring. As for Sikong Sheng, he had been wounded quite badly, so he had already left the battling platform. Under the lead of the leader of the floating mountain martial school, he had entered the secret room to heal his wounds. Hee, this is a rare opportunity. I will also prepare. Tuo Baku flew onto the battling platform and sat down in front of Yi Chen. He took out a huge pile of spirit medicines from his storage ring and randomly picked a few of them and put them into his mouth. Yi Chen glanced at them slightly and could not help but feel speechless. These spirit medicines were not normal, and some of them were extremely valuable, which would be hard to find in big auctions. This Tuo Baku was not simple at all. A fragrant wind lingered in the air as Su Jing also arrived on the stage. She was strong, and her recovery ability was also strong. She would only get stronger as the battle progressed, so she didn't need to deliberately heal herself. They really have to thank you. If it weren't for you, the hidden dragon's secret realm would have nothing to do with them. Of course, there's also me. The replenishing spirit pellet was working. Yi Chen smiled and said, this time, there will be someone who has a 30-meter-long dragon shadow. Therefore, the appearance of the hidden dragon's secret realm is destined. Tuo Baku interrupted, that is not necessarily true. 30-meter-long dragon shadow is not just about having enough dragon fountain chi. It also has something to do with the user. If you did not get the first place, then maybe the dragon's shadow would not even appear, and would be stuck at 89 meters. It was Yi Chen's first time hearing about this. Time passed like water. More and more hidden dragon rank warriors appeared on the battling platform. Everyone kept their mouths shut and waited quietly. After 4.5 hours, all 72 people had arrived. The leader of the Sky Demon Martial School's voice was heard, this time, you will have to go through all kinds of tests. Those who do not pass the tests will be automatically teleported out of the hidden dragon's secret realm. There are only 7 days left before the hidden dragon's secret realm closes. In other words, after 7 days, everyone will be teleported out. Hurry up and work hard. Just as he finished talking, the leader of the Sky Demon Martial School said to Yi Chen, you are the key to opening the hidden dragon's secret realm. You will be the first one to go in. The rest of you will be the same. Hearing him, Yi Chen did not hesitate as he stepped into the swirl in the dragon chi mouth. Who? The swirl shook slightly, and Yi Chen disappeared. Then, Sikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Murong Qingcheng, Tuo Baku and the rest entered one by one. The rest of them did not want to be left behind, so they extended their bodies and followed closely. Once everyone had disappeared into the swirl, the massive dragon chi head lifted up, circled around the battling platform twice, and then shrunk back into the pitch-black abyss. No one could see it anymore. Who? The leader of the Sky Demon Martial School sat down and exchanged a look with the leaders of the other rank 6 martial institutions. It was the first time for them to see the hidden dragon's secret realm appear. As for what kind of benefits the young generation would get, no one could tell for sure. But, they believed that their disciples would not lose to the others, and they would definitely get the biggest benefits, which would help them build a solid foundation for the future. On the audience seating, no one left. They were prepared to sit there for 7 days and see what would happen. Once they reached the clasping Yuan realm, it was normal for them to close up for 1 or 2 months. 7 days was a very short time. Above the surreal space, 2 space cracks were faintly visible. Dragon King, this is also the first time for us to see the hidden dragon's secret realm appear, right? A light female voice came from the space crack on the left. Hee, the hidden dragon's secret realm has appeared, which means that the luck of the South Rudra region is on the rise. We did not waste our effort to chase the 9 underworld demon king for half of the continent and wound him badly. He would not be able to recover within 100 years. The voice was very old, but the power contained in the voice had even made the surreal space shake a little. His tone changed as he said, "Speaking of which, you are quite powerful. You had only reached the life and death realm not long ago, but your power was already at the same level as the older life and death realm warriors. I, the Dragon King, am not even close. Dragon King, you do not have to be so humble. You are one of the oldest life and death realm warriors. The fact that the 9 underworld demon king had been defeated is enough to show your power." The owner of the old voice forced a laugh. "Let's not talk about these meaningless things. Plus, we should not stay here for too long. The hidden dragon ancient place is something that even titled emperors would be afraid of. The good thing is that we have some connection with the South Rudra region. Otherwise, we would not even come here. Yeah, when I was able to reach the life and death realm, I had more or less gotten some of the luck from the South Rudra region. Killing the 9 underworld demon king was only part of it. The hidden dragon rank competitions have already ended. There is no point in staying here any longer." Within a blink of an eye, the space crack disappeared. Even the leader of the rank 6 martial institutions could not sense their existence, as if they had never appeared in this world before. This was a vast world, boundless and limitless. The young generation all appeared on top of a low mountain. The mountain was connected to the ground by a flight of stairs, which was dozens of miles long. So this is the hidden dragon's secret realm? It does not feel different at all. Some of the young generation were confused. If the hidden dragon's secret realm could let you see something different, then it would not be called the hidden dragon's secret realm. I will go first. 7 days was not a long time, but it was not a short time either. Some of the people were impatient, so they started to walk down the mountain, hoping that they would be able to find something in 7 days. Dozens of miles were covered within a blink of an eye. The people in the front had just reached the foot of the mountain when something strange happened. The ground started to crack, and the fire shot up into the sky. The burning lava was like waves of water, rushing towards the crowd. What is going on? Everyone was shocked, and they all backed out. Yan Qihua's eyes brightened. He had seen the existence of a poetic perspective in this scene. He did not back out, but rushed towards the lava. Flame cut. Fire dragon cut. Earth crack cut. Gold flame cut. With the long blade in his hand, Yan Qihua performed everything he had learned, fighting against the lava. Gradually, Yichen could see the difference. Yan Qihua's fire poetic perspective was growing at a fast speed. Towards the end, his blade art was getting more and more aggressive, and the blade light was getting more and more powerful. It seemed to have become one with the boiling lava and the cracked ground. Every time he waved his blade, it gave people a feeling that the ground was cracking and the lava was crazily rushing out. The lava disappeared. Yan Qihua stood still for a while, then laughed towards the sky. Good, very good. My fire poetic perspective has not only doubled, but I have also learned the earth poetic perspective. Turning around, he yelled at Yichen, your cloud poetic perspective is suppressing my cloud poetic perspective. But now, I have the earth poetic perspective. Combined with the fire poetic perspective, you are definitely not my opponent. The young warriors were shocked. They did not expect that Yan Qihua would have such a great achievement right from the beginning. Right now, he even dared to challenge Yichen. But judging from the looks of it, Yan Qihua's blade art had indeed become much more powerful. His third place in the hidden dragon rank was unshakable, and there was a clear dividing line between him and the fourth. The lava came fast, and left fast as well. Soon, it had disappeared without a trace, and the cracked ground had healed up without a trace. Flying was not allowed in the Hidden Dragon's secret realm, so everyone had to walk. Whoo! The winds started to pick up. Small snowflakes flew across the sky, covering the whole place. The next second, huge snowflakes started to fall, accompanied by the wild wind. It was obviously an extremely horrifying blizzard. Lynch, who had been silent the whole time, took out his air-shattering blade and rushed towards the blizzard. The shining blade light spread out in all directions. Lynch's blade aura was getting faster and faster, and the poetic perspective of his blade art went from weak to strong. When he waved out his blade, the blade was no longer a blade anymore, but a wild wind, a blizzard, giving people the illusion that it was unstoppable. Right then, Lynch's attacking power had increased by a small level. If the Hidden Dragon rank competition was held again, he would definitely be able to make a big step forward and surpass the few people who were ranked in front of him. Right after that, the surrounding area started to flood again. There were swirls everywhere in the water, and the undercurrent was surging. All of the young warriors who had learned the water poetic perspective had learned from what had happened before, so they did not panic too much. They all picked up their weapons and fought against the tide, hoping that they could make it to the next level. However, things were not as simple as they seemed. All of the people who could not fight against the tide had been sent out of the Hidden Dragon's secret realm one by one. Only then did everyone realize that the Hidden Dragon's secret realm was not only a holy place for training, but also a place to test them. Those who were not talented in martial arts would be eliminated one by one, and only those who could fight against the tide would be able to get the benefits. With this lesson, a lot of people started to hesitate. They did not know if they should challenge the Hidden Dragon's secret realm or not. What if they were sent out? The top-ranked young warriors sneered. If they did not become more powerful now, there would be no chance for them to challenge the Hidden Dragon's secret realm in the future. But one thing was for sure, the Hidden Dragon's secret realm would only get harder and harder. If they did not prepare well in the beginning, they would most likely fail. Chapter 289. There were all kinds of strange scenes in the Hidden Dragon's secret realm. Some were catastrophic, some were picturesque, some were calm, some were moving, and some were never seen or heard before. For example, the dark mentality of Murong Qingqing's martial art, where the power field was everywhere, and the universe was reversed. Once one entered it, one would not be able to tell north from south at all. Only Murong Qingqing would be able to benefit from it. Yi Chen had not gained nothing either. In the scene where movement and stillness were combined, his fast sword poetic perspective and slow sword poetic perspective had both improved, especially the slow sword poetic perspective, which had finally reached a higher level. In terms of battling, it was not that much weaker than the fast sword poetic perspective. Unfortunately, the poetic perspective in the Hidden Dragon's secret realm was still not enough for him to learn more. Whoosh! With a strike of the sword light could not be seen, but the surging river water was severed. Stepping on the river, Yi Chen thrust out his sword again. This time, it was surprisingly slow. The thrust of the sword combined with the countercurrent of air, so slow that it made people want to vomit blood. With a swoosh, the majestic reef in the river was pierced through by the sword and slowly sank. Look, there's another staircase leading down here. At this time, a few of the younger generation who were walking in front said. Everyone followed the voice and looked over. In their sight, there was a long staircase leading to the next level. The entire Hidden Dragon's secret realm was like a terraced field, with each level connected to the next. However, this terraced field had been magnified countless times. Without reaching the edge, it would be hard to notice. The next test should be even more difficult. Just the first level of the Hidden Realm had already eliminated more than 10 members of the younger generation. It was hard to imagine how many more would be eliminated in the second level. Who cares? We can't possibly waste our time on the first level. The young generation who could be ranked in the Hidden Dragon rank were all people with extremely strong minds. After being slightly surprised, none of them took it seriously. The scenery on both sides of the staircase was beautiful, and the airflow was gentle. Walking on it was like bathing in the spring breeze, and one's mood was exceptionally comfortable. As Yu Chen observed the surrounding scenery, he thought to himself, if I'm not mistaken, the Hidden Dragon Mystery Realm should be an illusory realm. It's an illusory realm that combines many artistic conceptions. Perhaps this illusion was recreated based on the real scene, making it hard for people to distinguish between reality and illusion. Thinking about that, Yu Chen was shocked. He wondered who had created the Hidden Dragon's secret realm, which was both real and fake at the same time. The poetic perspectives contained in it were uncountable. Ah! At the end of the stairs, a young warrior was blown away by the wind. He was teleported out of the Hidden Dragon's secret realm. This was the concept of wind. The concept of wind was even more terrifying than the first level. What followed was a sudden tide, drowning the three dumbfounded youngsters. The huge mountain that appeared in the water knocked away a few youngsters who were nearby. The speed was so fast that they didn't even have time to react. The intent realm has increased in speed. Yu Chen was deep in thought. Normally, a martial artist needed a suitable time to comprehend a state. When the suitable time was shortened, it would be a test of a person's perception and reaction speed. Kacha! When Yu Chen arrived at the second level, the sky suddenly darkened. Dark clouds roiled and lightning flashed as a terrifying gale swept down with an astonishing aura. Concept of cloud, concept of thunder, concept of wind. On the first floor, there had never been a scene where the three concepts were combined. Who would have thought that it would appear on the second floor? Among the younger generation, those who had comprehended one of the concepts had already taken out their weapons, fighting against the wild winds and thunder. As for the concept of cloud, it was no longer an attack. One had to comprehend it on their own. The difficulty was much higher than the concept of thunder and the concept of wind. Chin. His sword light flashed as Yu Chen threw out a sword attack, shattering the incoming thunder light. Sky-shattering clouds. Without activating his sword intent, Yu Chen used his pure sky-shattering clouds sword movement to face the crazy storm and thunder. Every single sword attack was deadly, and it was getting more and more intense. Boom! A thunderous sound was heard as 100-meter-long, half-meter-thick thunder light struck down. The thunder light was narrow and sharp, like a twisted great weapon. It was unstoppable. Some of the young warriors who had comprehended the concept of thunder were hit by the aftershock of the thunder light. They were all thrown into the surreal space and teleported out of the Hidden Dragon's secret realm. Break. The poetic perspective of thunder and clouds evolved to its limit. Yu Chen threw out a sword attack to face the incoming attack. With a swoosh, Yu Chen was forced back for a couple of steps, and the thunder light disappeared. Such a dominating poetic perspective of thunder. Yu Chen's poetic perspective of thunder existed to support the poetic perspective of clouds. It was not pure, and it did not need to be pure. When it clashed with the real poetic perspective of thunder, he immediately felt that his own poetic perspective of thunder had been greatly suppressed, and it would shatter at the first touch. In the end, it was the poetic perspective of clouds that contained this poetic perspective of thunder, combining it with his own poetic perspective of thunder. Once the poetic perspective of thunder became stronger, the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds improved as well, becoming more complete. After absorbing the poetic perspective of thunder, Yu Chen raised his head, looking at the dark clouds. He thought to himself, I should learn a bit of the poetic perspective of clouds first. The essence of the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds is still the poetic perspective of clouds. The poetic perspective of clouds was vague and hard to learn. However, it was also the source of the power of the poetic perspective of thunder. If he did not solve the problem of the poetic perspective of clouds, it would be hard for the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds to improve. He waved out his sword attack, and the sword light was like thunder, shooting into the dark clouds. Pap! Pap! The dark clouds rolled up, and the thunder light shone in the cracks, looking like countless thunder snakes, swimming and playing. There was an indescribable murderous vibe in that nimble movement. While Yu Chen was learning the poetic perspective of clouds, the others were not idling around either. They all performed their best to fight against the poetic perspectives. The poetic perspectives that Xikong Sheng was fighting against were the poetic perspective of earth and wind. The poetic perspective of earth was contained in the mysterious sky tyrant fist art, while the sky expelling palm art was the poetic perspective of wind. Yan Qihua was fighting against the poetic perspective of earth and fire. Li Daoxian was fighting against the poetic perspective of wind and the sharp and aggressive metal. Murong Qingcheng was fighting against the poetic perspective of darkness and chaos. As for Su Jing's poetic perspective, it was a bit weird. It was a series of different forms of power, vibrating, penetrating, lifting something heavy as if it were light, and lifting something light as if it were heavy. If one were to describe it in one word, it would be the poetic perspective of power. It was an extremely pure poetic perspective, and also a necessary one. Most of the poetic perspectives would contain the poetic perspective of power, but there was no need to learn it specifically, because there was no way to learn it. Only Su Jing could separate the poetic perspective of power and form it into her own poetic perspective. The dark clouds above his head disappeared, and the thunder light faded away. Yu Chen let out a breath. His poetic perspective of clouds had finally reached the next level. Right now, he already had the poetic perspective of combining the 6 movements of the sky cloud sword art. The only thing he was missing was to combine the 6 movements into one, which would be the sky-shattering clouds. Looking around, Yu Chen realized that there were less than 40 people left. Adding the people who had been eliminated in the first level, there were more than 30 people left. Pap! The thunder-like sword light cracked the ground open. Yu Chen put his sword back into its scabbard, its sharp light completely gone. A few people nearby were secretly shocked. They had just been battling with Yu Chen, but the difference was that Yu Chen had been battling with the poetic perspective of clouds and thunder, while they had been battling with the poetic perspective of wind. During the battling process, they had finally witnessed the power of Yu Chen's sword arts from a close distance. The dark clouds in the sky had been shattered by him, and it was already quite difficult for them to fight against the wind together. Whoosh! On the other side, Yan Qihua had lifted up his blade and waved out a straight red flame light. Wherever the flame light reached, the ground cracked open. No one knew if it was intentional, but the red flame light was attacking towards Yu Chen's direction. The blade aura was aggressive, as if it was about to devour someone. A poetic perspective of an erupting volcano was contained within it. The combination of the poetic perspective of earth and the poetic perspective of fire is not bad. Unfortunately, I am not standing still either. Yu Chen did not back out. He put his right hand on the hilt of his sword, slightly pulling out his star scar sword. He released the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds, attacking towards the flame along with the sharp sword qi. Swoosh! The flame light was extinguished, disappearing completely. The remaining power of the thunder sword qi had not disappeared yet. It had forced Yan Qihua to back out dozens of steps, which had taught him a decent lesson. Yan Qihua's expression froze. He thought that his poetic perspective of earth and fire had improved a lot, and he had been able to get through all the difficult parts without any obstacles. He was planning to compete with Yu Chen for the poetic perspective, but he did not expect that Yu Chen had made even more progress than him. Before his sword had even been completely pulled out of its scabbard, Yu Chen had already forced him to back out. The good thing was that it was just a pure poetic perspective competition. If he used all of his power, Yu Chen's 70% sword intent would probably kill him within a second. Li Daoxian shook his head. Within a short period of time, he did not want to compete with Yu Chen anymore. Although Yan Qihua was very powerful, he still had a long way to go before he could catch up with Yu Chen. After the small interlude, the rest of the people walked towards the 3rd level of the secret realm. The 3rd level of the secret realm did not have any sudden incidents. It seemed to be very quiet. However, the quieter it was, the more nervous the people were. The unknown was always scary. There was a tall mountain nearby, and a heavy wind was blowing on top of it, sharp like blades. A few of them wanted to go up and observe. However, none of them managed to do so, as they were all teleported out by the wind. After that, the others also knew that this level was for them to find their own poetic perspectives, so they went their separate ways. Yu Qin had only walked a few steps before he saw that the young warriors who were not even 40 years old had been reduced by a third again. Moreover, there were people being teleported out every second. Shaking his head, he walked towards a valley in the distance. There was a lake in the valley, with green lotuses growing on top of it. They varied in size, with the largest being almost 3 meters long, and the smallest being as wide as a basin. The lake was calm without any ripples, reflecting the surrounding scenery. Yu Qin did not suspect anything, so he walked towards it. Shoo! The green lotus that was closest to the lake suddenly turned into sword chi and shot over. The sword chi was sharp and unstoppable, like an extremely powerful sword art. And, the one who had performed the sword art was indeed the lake. Yu Qin activated his separating shadow flying art to avoid the sword chi. Before he could do anything, another couple of green lotuses turned into sword chi and shot out. Each attack was deadly, and the poetic perspective contained within was extremely horrifying. It was as if there was a peerless sword artist attacking towards him. Without a choice, Yu Qin took out his star scar sword and started to fight against the sword chi. The battle was intense, and it was extremely tiring. After blocking a couple of sword chi in a row, Yu Qin frowned. In his sight, a huge green lotus near the center of the lake was floating in the air. It suddenly turned into dozens of sword chi, which were in perfect order. The sword aura contained within them was unimaginable. Yu Qin, who was standing far away, immediately felt like he was being locked on. He had a feeling that no matter where he tried to hide, he would be hit. This is a sword movement. Yu Qin was surprised. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.